Hi, welcome back. I'm Connie Kolosey, Director of Media, Text, and Digital Learning. I have with me today for our episode Alex Heeren, who is a colleague of mine who does a lot of work out in schools, helping teachers and administrators use their technology for efficiency and for instruction. So we're talking today about Windows 10, and all of our district computers now should be upgraded to Windows 10. We might have a few holdouts with 7. We need to move on. We need to move to 10. And Alex, it's not as scary as it sounds.
It's not, and since you mentioned moving from 7 to 10, I want to really quickly give another reason why you should do that. So I'm out in the classrooms frequently, and I see a lot of teachers who still have Windows 7, and they say, oh, my this thing isn't working, my that thing isn't working, High Vision's not working, whatever. And most of the time, the best solution is to upgrade to Windows 10, because when your tech installs Windows 10, that image that they're using has all the latest updates on it. And so that upgrade will make everything else just work, because we're not really updating anything on the Windows 7 anymore. We're moving away from it. So if something else isn't working, upgrading to Windows 10 probably will fix it.
So not only is Windows 10 a have to, it's also a get to. All right, so let's talk more about the get to.
Sure, yeah. So I'm going to go back into Microsoft Edge here. This is only Windows 10, so right now. Microsoft announced they're probably going to be bringing it out for Mac if you're into using Edge on the Mac. So
well, you know how I feel about Mac.
Yeah, right. But they're going to be
redesigning
it. And the nice thing, Microsoft, just as an aside, they've changed their strategy, so now they want to work across platforms. So OneDrive works across all your devices, whether it's a Mac, PC, whatever. Edge, they're coming out with, like I said, will be coming out eventually to work on Macs and Windows, older versions of Windows. But for right now, it's only on Windows 10. So some of the other things you can do here with Edge, I mean, like I said, the big thing is I use this for inking. You can also use reading.
Inking. And so when you say the term inking, you mean?
I mean, I take a Sharpie and I write on my screen. No, I don't.
No.
I don't actually do that.
Please don't.
No, so yeah, on the whiteboard when you have the permanent marker. No, so when I say digital inking, I'm talking about using pen and touch inputs to draw or take notes digitally. We are starting to get more 2-in-1s out into the wild, and those 2-in-1s are awesome. Now, there's something like this. You can see I'm actually hooked up with a wire. However, in most classrooms, it's possible to get those teachers wireless because of the kinds of projectors we have, where my computer doesn't have to be hooked up to anything. So
you don't have to be standing at the front of the room. So if something's happening at the back of the room that might be going to interrupt you.
You can have that proximity, you can wander around the room, and with digital inking, this is almost like a throwback to when you had those airliner cards for your smart boards. But now you've got your whole computer that you can walk around with. You can use your finger, or you can get they've got cheap active styluses on Amazon you can get like 15, 20 bucks. And you can actually ink on your screen while you're wandering the classroom. For me, when I was teaching 7th grade, that ability to move around the room, hit all the quadrants of the room, really changed my instructional practice significantly.
And of course, that's what we're looking for when we're looking at our Marzano Focus Monitor evaluation, is the monitoring piece. This allows you to actually be able to do it. So, you know, a while back, 10 years ago, a dock camera was considered a must-have, because we would do this. We would put our text and mark it. And this really helps us move away from needing that additional piece of technology.
Well, when I talk to teachers and say, hey, you can do this all on your computer without having to use the document camera, they say, well, how will I mark it up? And it's funny, because people are so used to going to the printer and printing out a bunch of copies of things and then marking one up every class period or whatever. If you never printed it out in the first place and just left it in the original form, if it's a Word document or if it's a PDF, like I said before, I use that app called Xodo, Xodo. You can do, I use that to open up PDFs, because you can ink on that. You can annotate on a PDF. You could also open a PDF in Edge. Edge will open PDF and let you annotate using inking. So
you mentioned before our break that then you could take that marking, that text marking that you did, that inking, and save it to the OneNote.
So here's how I would do that. So let's say I'm going to ink on this really quickly. So let's just say I'm going to circle this thing. That's all I'm going to do. So you have this icon up here. It's a little box with an arrow. That's universally the share this button for Windows. So if you're in Office 365, if you're anywhere else, that's the I'm going to share this thing button. So when you hit the share button, you're going to have some options of where to share it. And I'm going to share it to OneNote. It's going to pop open in OneNote. It's going to ask me where to save it. So I'll just save it there for right now. It'll only open your most recent notes. So if I wanted to save this to a particular place, I would open the OneNote Windows 10 app first, go to where I want it to save, my class notebook probably, and then I would do this. But I'll just save it here for now. And it's going to save this whole page, this whole document with all the annotations right into OneNote. So if I'm the kind of person who's using a class notebook, for example, my kids are used to already going to the content library, seeing all that stuff there. With Windows 10, the web browser experience and the OneNote experience and the touch experience all work together seamlessly. If this was a class notebook, my kids would already be able to read this document that I just marked in front of them. It takes seconds for it to go across all their devices.
Wow.
So it's really designed to kind of work within that ecosystem. And if you're interested in learning more about the entire ecosystem, we've got summer trainings coming up this year in summer 2019 that are going to go through all of this that are really, really useful. If you see this and say, hey, I wish I had more than just 30 minutes to learn about all the cool stuff Windows 10 and OneNote and Edge can do.
Well, we've got a lot more to talk about, but while we're on the topic, let's do a little advertisement. You are a technology integration coordinator. You are one of 4, and you have a group of schools that are assigned to you. James Wilson has a group, Laura Clark has a group, Stacy Pellerin-Vanderloop. And how can you help teachers in schools?
Well, so we are the Swiss Army knives of instructional technology. We'll do anything to help teachers, and we'll fit around their schedule. So I'll come out and do 20 minutes during your planning period and just show you how to get started on your Epson projector, because it really doesn't take that long to get started with it, but it's really powerful once you do. We'll come out and work with media specialists on how to set up projectors wirelessly, or work with teachers before school or after school on Office 365 or Smartboard, Smart Notebook. It's really what the teacher needs, because we're all instructional, we're all teachers. And so we don't want to waste teachers' time, so we only want to show them just the facts, get them the information, and help make their lives easier, to take less time rather than more time.
Well, that's the thing about technology. I mean, I might be a person who needs to know more, wants to know more, is curious, but I've got kids, I've got a house, I've got dogs, I can't get out after school, I'm just, let's face it, the teachers are busy people.
Well, what we've done as digital learning is we've actually put together a blog, which is a really good resource. It's called Tech Toolbox. So I can actually go to the Tech Toolbox here. I'm not going to save my changes here. But I can just go to techtoolbox.pcsb.org, and that will actually take you to an internal SharePoint site. It's going to probably ask me to log in. It already logged me in. So this is our blog. We've got posts about all kinds of information. We've got all sorts of things.
Let's look at some of those things we've put stuff out. So this is, in most cases, our own. Sometimes we've gathered stuff from the vendors, but in most cases, you guys have taken notes as you're working with teachers. Like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, and
yeah. Well, and so let me start with one I generally send to people. That's this Epson Bright Link. So tools to check out. The Epson Bright Link is in a lot of schools, and if you don't want to have me come out and do 20 minutes, we have made a 15-minute video on how to get started with the Epson projectors. So you don't even have to have us come out. You can actually see some of these resources. Maybe you learn something and you want to become more of an expert on it, or this is a great starting point, but you want more specific stuff. We'd love to come help you with that. But this is a great resource to start with, the Tech Toolbox blog. And
so one of the things that you all have done is set up a time to even just be like in the media center and during the course of the day.
Yeah, so we do kind of like open office hours where we'll come out and just consult. You can come in and ask us pretty much anything. Sometimes we get stumped, but it's not often. And when we do what anybody else would do. With the growth mindset, we start asking questions and find the answers to it. So We just love answering questions and helping people out in the classroom.
So our department is in teaching and learning, and you mentioned you are instructional, you're teachers, and were very effective teachers when you were in the classroom. And then we have our Technology Information Systems Department, TIS, and they're really more on the technical side, and they're very helpful to us, and they've been very responsive because you guys are the boots on the ground. You go in the classroom and you see what the problem is, and then can kind of translate that into tech talk.
Yeah.
And so we've resolved a lot of problems that way, right?
Yeah, we're kind of the go-between. Between, if your computer screen is broken, don't email me. I can't fix it, or I'm not supposed to. I'll get in trouble. That's TIS's job, right? But if you have a question about how do I use this thing in my classroom with my kids, that's where we can help. And if something is preventing that from happening, we can work with TIS to make sure any barriers are being overcome. That's a really important part of our job.
All right. So Tech Toolbox at pcsb.org is a good place to get started if you're kind of just flipping around and want to know, gee, I wonder if they've addressed this. Or they can even submit things they'd like to see.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so we are in SharePoint, and there's lots of cool things in SharePoint, and I think about your little waffle over there in the corner, and let's visit that right quick.
Sure. And I do want to mention, since we're going to go here, you can see we're in a web browser, we're in Edge, so we're on the internet. This is all web-based. If I were to log into this from my home computer, it would look the exact same. So you've got all of your Office 365 apps here. I do want to very briefly segue into talking about, with Windows 10, how Windows 10 on your computer talks to Office 365 in the cloud, which is entirely online. And it mostly happens through OneDrive. OneDrive is so important. I really want to hammer this home. You want to save your stuff into OneDrive because it's automatically backed up. If this computer were to explode right now, I could go to a new computer. If it's a Windows 10 computer, go down to my system tray. I'll see these. If it's my first time logging in, these clouds are probably gray. If you don't see them, you might have to click the up arrow and show those clouds. All you have to do is click the clouds, log in, and all your stuff will be on your computer. It is the best way to keep track of your stuff. You don't want to save everything to your desktop because that's not being saved unless you're doing
So no more panic about where's my stuff.
Right. Right, and in addition, if you save your stuff into OneDrive, not only is it backed up across all your devices, but if I go on OneDrive online, I can actually see version histories. So let's say I have a quiz that I've made, and I've had it for years, and I keep it in my OneDrive, and every year I make some changes to it. I can actually go back to a specific file, select it. Let me see if I can find a good example here. And so again, I'm online, I'm in the web view here. And let me see if I can find, let's say, this Word document here. Once I select it, I can go up to these Skittles here, and I can see version history. So this is awesome. If I'm sharing something with you now, I can collaborate in real time. We can work together. And if you messed something up, so I got one version of this.
I'm likely to.
But I have one version of this. I could see every time someone makes changes, I'd have 7 versions, 8 versions, and I could go back and see the one that was before you accidentally deleted everything, for example, and restore that.
All right, so it turns out that 28 minutes goes fast. There's
Sure
lots
does,
to talk about here. So key points that we need to move to Windows 10, we need to save our stuff in OneDrive, and we need to call our technology integration coordinators to come out and make our job easier.
Yes, please call us out. I mean, it is our job to come work with teachers on their time, so please, we'd rather be there than sitting around.
And let's mention that you are referendum funded. And so putting our tax dollars to work, making teachers' jobs easier, helping students learn faster, that's what we're about.
It's the whole thing.
All right. Thanks for being with me.
Of course.
Hope that you've enjoyed this brief overview of Windows 10. We have some more to show you, so I hope that you will take advantage of the resources we've mentioned here and join us next time for Digital Learning.